Okay, welcome to the stream. And today I have a guest with me on this Hangout, which is Mark Mars from Niche Website Builders.
Hey, Johan. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm hoping tech will be in my favor. I have some issues with my audio just now. I'm having a loop, so I'm hearing myself twice.
Are you playing the video? You playing the YouTube video in the background?
Yeah, of course. Thanks. It's good to have somebody experienced on looking.
Yeah, been there, done it.
Just 1 second. Here we go. Sorry about that. So, once again, welcome, Mark. I think we are all in order now. So, the topic for this Hangout or stream is website investments. But I think we should start with getting to know Mark a bit first. Did you have a good vacation? I heard from your colleagues that you had a vacation just when you came back. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah, I came back yesterday, so it was very much a beach holiday here in the UK. It's been really, really hot weather for the last couple of weeks. So I've been on holiday for about a week and a half down on the south coast in the UK, and
Nice.
got 3 kids, so we spent a lot of time on the beach, in the sea, building sandcastles, and the days just flew by. Lots of ice creams and stuff, and everyone was happy. So yeah, it was a really nice break actually.
Yeah, sounds good. So could you just start by? I mean, the topic will be website investment, of course, but could you just give some background about yourself, how you got into the sort of the niche website business? Did you do you have any normal education and background, like how did you get started basically, and where do you come from?
So I'm currently co-founder of Niche Website Builders, which is essentially an agency which helps people with website investing and helps them grow and monetize blogs essentially at the highest level. But in terms of myself, my background is I did a normal education. I went to university and studied computer science.
We're colleagues.
A long time ago. Oh, did you study computer science? Did you?
Yeah. Actually, I did for 4 or 5 years. 2 years in Sweden and 2 years in Canada.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good.
Good times.
yeah, Canada's nice. I like Canada.
Yeah.
So I spent 2 weeks. So I did. So I had a placement year during that, of which I spent at Microsoft. And when I finished university, I went traveling for a year and then returned to Microsoft. I kind of got offered a job for when I returned. So I returned back to Microsoft, worked there for a decade as an application development consultant, which is basically helping people build software on the Microsoft platform. We were a lot of Microsoft consultancy departments are very much like traditional consultancy. So you might be a database expert, for example, and you would go and spend time on site at a client for like 6 months, the duration of the project, and then come back. The team that I worked in was a much smaller team, but we would oversee the whole of the development process. So it was all about like helping get best practices in place in terms of development, helping people scale up their applications. So we had a scalability lab where we would bring their software into the scalability lab. It could be a web app or the desktop app, and we would simulate lots and lots of users using it at the same time until it broke, find the bottleneck, and then fix the bottleneck, and then simulate lots and lots of users again until it broke, fix the bottleneck, and keep going until it reached a capacity of like what was acceptable essentially.
Cool.
So it was
Sorry, so it's like focus on software development and helping people solve the main issues and then move on.
Yeah, so it was really varied because they could be working with any software. It could have been, they were working with like SharePoint or Office, or they could be working on a C++ project or some sort of massive data warehouse SQL. Like the thing was like hugely
very
varied.
broad. So
super broad,
super broad. So you had to know a lot of stuff and bring with you, I guess, experts from all kinds of areas.
Yeah. So what we did was we kind of tended to go deep ourselves in one area, but be a generalist across a lot of areas. And then if someone needed some other expertise deeper than you could provide, then we'd have someone in the team that we would then bring in, and we'd all help each other out, like on that basis. So it was a cool job. I really enjoyed it, but it got. So I guess what kind of changed things for me was that whilst I was working at Microsoft, I developed some software with a couple of friends at Microsoft. At the time, it was, I don't know, I think it was around 2005. And we developed an online testing platform, which sounds just normal now, right? But at the time, there wasn't really anything. So we created an online testing platform. I'd already created like a prototype one for interviewing people to come into our team at Microsoft, because the bar was quite high. And we were finding that we were interviewing like 50 people and like hiring one. And it was just like the numbers were just too bad. So we wanted to test them in advance before they got through to the in-person stage, because they were using consultants to interview them because they wanted to know their technical skills were good. So consultants were getting charged out at like a lot of money per hour. So it was wastes them a lot of money essentially by having
this was still within Microsoft. This development
that was I did a little small project, and then we said, oh wow, this has got legs. Maybe we can make it a big, like put it out to the world. So the idea was for recruitment to start with, but we made the testing platform so generic that people used it for all sorts of things. So a lot of people were using it for health and safety compliance, for example. So within their business, they were testing people on health and safety, and it kept a record of who passed the test and who hadn't, and who needed to do it. So it was really, I always remember one. We used ridiculous things. There was a chain of gyms, and they just had used it as a checklist. So they'd say, right at the start of the day, I've got to turn on like the sauna. I've got to do this, do that, and then at the end of the day, I've got to turn it all off again. Yeah,
like a checklist application.
Yeah, but it was so flexible that it could be used for anything. Nice. So so that company was really going really well. We had lots of young people hired. They were all like pre-relationships, getting married, enjoying themselves. We'd go out for the Christmas parties basically once we handed it over. We got investment basically to kick it off. And then I kind of got the taste for entrepreneurship after that, and I started my own digital marketing agency at the same time. Then we sold that business a little while later. We got to like 40 odd people in 6 or 7 years, sold that business. Unfortunately, we took so much investment along the way. So learning lesson for me that my percentage of the business was so small by the end of it. It was really, really nice, but it wasn't like, oh, I can retire now. It's like life changing. That would have been nice. But so yeah. And then
would you have wanted to retire by then?
No, I would have done something else.
You feel like you have a lot of energy and entrepreneurship within you. So,
oh yeah, but it'd be nice to have the freedom, right? So at the time, it's like you just need money to live.
Of choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have enough money where you can go, well, actually, this is the work I enjoy doing, so I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the end goal.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the end game.
To wake up and feel what I want to do today.
Yeah.
What app do I want to create? Or what website do I want to build?
Exactly. Yeah. So I started a digital marketing agency for local businesses. After that was really hard, to be honest. I had kids at the same time. We had some things I had to deal with in the early years of my children's life, which meant I couldn't really go out and network a lot, which meant it was hard for me to get the work in. So we grew to like 4 or 5 people over like 5 or 6 years. I then took on some partners, which was a customer of mine, which was a mistake because that fell flat on its face. And I ended up leaving the business that I started. And then after I left, the business just collapsed within like a couple of months.
So this is still pre-niche website builders.
Pre-niche website builders, yeah. But at the same time, this is when I was getting into website investing, because I was like, okay, I need another income stream. I need to start. And I'd already been an SEO for like 10 years. And I was like, have I not heard about this
with SEO, like a profession then?
Yeah, so I think I'd be doing it on the side myself, but I'd also been working.
Okay, like small side projects on a personal level.
Yeah, but I also ran this agency where we did SEO for like a number of years.
Yeah, Cool.
Yeah, SEO and content marketing, essentially.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then you work for a long time in this business, and suddenly you realize, hang on, I've got all these skills to be able to create a website, create content, do SEO, and I can make money for myself. And then when you learn about website investing and the return on investment that you can get, which I'm sure we'll come to later, it's like it's really eye-opening. And when you first tell people about website investing, and you see it click in their eyes, you remember that moment where it clicked for you. You go, "Oh my God, this world exists! I can't believe I didn't see it before."
No.
And do
you still feel like that? I mean, every now and then, because I mean, I'm just a side hustler, but I can still get that feeling like, is this for real? I mean, is it even possible to earn this money by just sitting by a computer and create stuff, either by yourself or on a team, or invest money and get all these returns?
Yeah,
it's a bit strange and good.
It is, but like, I mean, I guess I've made peace with it myself now, and I kind of like accept it. But I still live vicariously through other people. So you talk to people, and you see the penny drop for them, and and then they're like, oh, and you kind of like you relive that moment again as they relive it, which is kind of really nice.
Exactly. I need to be better on explaining that to people, because I'm trying to talk. That's why I'm starting to do this YouTube and hanging out on Twitter, because nobody I talk to understands the potential and the possibilities. Very few people, at least. So that's why it's so great to have sort of discovered the global networking possibilities through like YouTube and Twitter and stuff, places like that, to connect with people that have this understanding,
for sure,
and are working on this.
Yeah, it's so nice to spread the word, because the great thing about now working at niche website builders is that you're really working directly with the people it affects. Whereas where I was working at an agency before, I worked at Microsoft, you're working with a business of which the person is an employee and they're a number. And now we're working with the people we work with. We're changing their lives. Like, we're helping them make their own revenues, additional revenue streams to start with. But we get emails from people who've managed to grow their site enough to they managed to quit their job and no longer work a full-time job. They actually run their portfolios instead. And it's really nice to be on that journey with them, where they suddenly have that sense of freedom now that they didn't have before.
Yeah, that's nice. So I think I disturbed you there. I lost the thread a bit. So this was still prior to. If we go back to how did niche website builders sort of come into place? And
so I guess I got into this world where I was interested in website investing myself. I started running my own websites, my own portfolio, and I was listening to loads of podcasts, watching YouTube, reading blogs, doing all that kind of really absorbing myself in the world. And I heard a podcast with my co-founder, Adam Smith, and he was just talking about some of the challenges with growing in our portfolio, growing the niche sites, finding good people and all those kind of things. And I just contacted him on Facebook and said, I really enjoyed your YouTube. I can relate to a lot of what you're talking about. It was a really good discussion. And then then we just got chatting. I said, we just had a phone call actually, like the next day. I said, how about I come to Wales? Because he lives in Wales. I live in England. It's only about 2.5 hours apart. I said, I'll come back to Wales next week and we'll just have a chat and just throw some things around. And we didn't plan to like start a business at that point, but as we got chatting, we was like, we both got these challenges. Why don't we actually hire some full-time people instead of freelancers from Upwork or whatever? Hire some full-time people that we can train to do things exactly how we want them to do it. So we don't have to keep retraining people. And we have a team, and we will share the cost of a small team to run both of our own portfolios.
Okay,
and that's how it started. And then that was working really well. So go ahead.
So yes, I recall correctly, you didn't know each other at all beforehand.
No.
Is that correct? So
that's correct.
So you discovered Adam through YouTube? Did I hear correctly?
It was a podcast.
A podcast. Yeah. And then you sort of connected. Clicked or whatever. Like you felt like this is somebody I want to talk to, and then you sort of reached out.
Yes.
So that's the initial contact, basically.
Yeah,
then you grew like this big niche website company. That's pretty cool. Just,
yeah, I mean,
by accident you heard this podcast, and then you sort of got the ball rolling through that.
It was for like we met after a week. We decided to create our own team.
Yeah.
2 months later, that was going so well, and our team was like, really working how we wanted it to work. It was like I'd actually been blogging and for a year. I had a Facebook group where I've been blogging my journey into like website investing and growing a site from scratch and making money from it. And I'd got quite a following on a Facebook group, about 1,000.
Okay.
I can't remember how many people I got to at that point. And we said, why don't we start offering our team out to like other people? Like we can probably grow this team a little bit and offer it to some of our friends and people that are like within this Facebook group. So we launched that, and then we were like the first day, we had several 100,000 words of like content ordered from us, and we're like, wow, now we've got to like deliver this. And there was lots of like growing pains, like especially initially with that, but then that's how it just took off. And because we are offering like full end-to-end services, we offer with our content, we offer the niche selection, we offer keyword research, we offer the writing, the editing, the uploading, the inserting of images, inserting affiliate links. We just do it all. It's pretty hands-off. And there was nobody doing it well. That was our frustration. Was we're trying to get people from Upwork, and that's flaky and hard to just manage. We tried a couple of agencies that did exist in the space, and they just didn't live up to our expectations of what we wanted. There was nobody doing what we wanted, and it seemed like that was the problem for everyone, because as soon as we launched something and we obviously public and about everything we do, we share everything. People understood that we knew what we were doing, and it grew from there really quick.
Nice. But what was the sort of incentive for? I mean, lots of people like myself, I'm working with clients and customers, and often when you sort of have done that for some time, you feel like, what if I could just not have any customers? That would be so nice, and just live off my websites and whatever apps you create. What made you think that you would like to have clients and customers again?
I'll tell you what, it was a bit of an accident, the agency, because I'd run that previous agency, which had, when I took on the partners, it just didn't go well. And I was like, okay, I'm just done with like this and like customers. And so.
Especially SEO, sorry, I can imagine. And because it's so fluffy, it's hard to sell success or sell something concrete. It's like, I'm selling you a possibility of maybe being successful and maybe get rankings and possibly, that's
a real challenge. I mean,
it must be.
We do that now through case studies, but actually we'll come on to it later, I expect. But we've got we're calling it our big data project, where we're analyzing a lot of sites, and because a lot of customers do ask us like, well, if I invest this, what can I get? What can I expect back? And it's like, well, and our answer previously was, well, some sites start slowly, some sites start fast. Like these are some examples. Like, but it's just not that like there's no like fixed number. It's not like you're going to get a 20% return if you invest this type thing. We're working on a project where we're analyzing thousands of websites and working out, how much content versus what's the authority of the domain, and how much investment you might need and what kind of return you can expect. And it's actually like a scatter graph, so you can see like the best ones and the worst ones.
I can imagine.
And
so I guess you need to have also one axis with a niche or niche. I don't know what you're supposed to pronounce it, because I guess the niche is also sort of a big effect. I mean, the competition in that space, when you sort of estimate the effort needed to be able to reach some kind of income from that investment.
Yeah, we're splitting it across, I think it's 5 or 6 niches at the moment. So we're doing a different scatter graph for each niche. So it's so we'll then be able to view them side by side. But the idea, I think, is, we'll see how varied it is. The problem that we don't have, the data that we don't have is all we can kind of estimate is like we can estimate very broadly what, in terms of how much traffic you get, what you could expect in ad revenue as a base. But obviously there's loads and loads of ways to monetize a website, and the more challenging niches like affiliate deals or partnerships can be a massive part of the income. In fact, the biggest part of the income. That could be huge. So what we're trying to do is at least say, well, at a baseline, if all you had was affiliate, if all you had was ads, on the site, this is what you can expect. And what we find is, well, you still get a good return on investment, but plus you can add on all of these other kind of revenue streams. Anyway,
exactly. I guess the ads revenue is like somewhat calculatable if you have some generic numbers on depending on your rankings, the cost per clicks, and estimated clicks depending on where you intend to rank and all that. You can sort of somewhat calculate. And I know there's tools like Ahrefs and other tools like that are indicating what would it cost to buy ads to get this traffic that you are ranking for, or the potential traffic that you're ranking for at the moment. Then you can sort of reverse engineer and get some estimate at least.
It's a lot more. It's way more predictable, and we from our experience we can know that we can kind of roughly estimate. But once two sites in the same niche, the EPMV or the RPM for their ads could be wildly different, even though they're in the same niche. So but broadly we can kind of give some sort of estimate, which is helpful, I guess.
So sorry, back to just a quick answer then to my the question. Did we answer that? Why did you want to start working with clients again?
So I mean, like I say, it was a bit of an accident. Like we just started it, and then wow, like everybody wanted it. But the difference between this, I think, is that we are much closer working with people. We're working with individuals. We do get a real sense of fulfillment from actually helping people and changing their lives. Of course, it comes with challenges. Working with people, there are always challenges, but it's actually a really nice business to be in. So I think
it's mainly the feeling behind helping people that is the driving factor to make them successful. And because I'm not sure what the typical customer that you have, what the background is, but is it like companies, or is it more like side hustlers like myself and lots of other YouTubers and people on Twitter, and just sort of dreaming of having like a decent side income to make their lives easier? Or is it more like big companies that just want to make more money?
I'll tell you what, we have
shareholders.
I'd say we have 3 different kinds of customers right now, and then there's 2 more that we're trying to expand into. So the range of people we work with is all very much individuals, not businesses at the moment. So we work with people from people that have a full-time job, they have a blog, and they just want help monetizing that blog for some side income. We have people at the other end of the spectrum that are maybe portfolio owners. They're already established. They understand SEO, but they have like 7, 8 sites, and they can't scale. They can't do all of the work themselves for that whole portfolio. So they need help scaling all of those sites, or help. So we create more content for some of their sites. Maybe some of those still even write their own content, but but others are just like, they make enough money from their portfolio now that they like to just outsource it all and just relax, and while they sort of manage it at a higher level. Then we have people that are the third kind, are people that are pure investors. So people that maybe they've heard about website investing as an investment opportunity, but they don't know how to build a website. They don't know how to do SEO, but they come with us with like, okay, I've heard about this. Tell me more. Okay, now I want this. I've got this lump of money that I want to invest in growing and building a website. What we find with those people, though, is that they do often have an underlying interest. So they're learning at the same time as us, like growing their sites. They want to learn. So they're all individuals, whether that's a portfolio person or an investor or somebody who just a side hustle. They're all individuals.
So usually like not companies then, like individual people wanting to get into this or to scale this up that they already are having. So that's good. That's nice.
The 2 other kind of areas we're looking to focus on now is one is working well with businesses, which is generally through an agency. So we're offering white label services to agencies so that they can Because we've managed to get the cost of our services down quite low, because you just have to for this business. Actually, there's an opportunity for some margin for agencies who to mark up our services to their clients. So, and the problem with an agency, and I found this when I was running a content agency, is 1 month you might have loads of content to write, the next month you have hardly any, and it kind of is very up and down. So you generally manage that through a pool of freelancers, so that you've got a flexible workforce. But then you've got to manage all those freelancers, make sure they've got work, make sure they all get paid. If they're sick, like what do you do? Whereas when you're working with us, it's just like we've got one point of contact, and we've got a team of like 70 writers, and we'll just get it sorted for you. No matter if you want a little bit of content or a lot of content, we'll sort it for you. And
so are those sorry, I'm keeping interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
Just it's so interesting. So I have a list of questions, so I might not even get to those.
That's fine.
You're talking about employees, so I was just wondering, and that's also interesting. How many do you have, like real employees, or do you also use mostly freelancers, or do you have, like you said, a team of 70 writers? Are those employees? Like you always have like a buffer of people you have access to instantly that you can sort of put on a job?
Yeah, so it ranges between, depending on the time of the year, it ranges between sort of 70 and 100 people generally. But yeah, they're all full-time UK based like members of staff. The entire company, all the writers are, the entire company, again, flexes quite a bit. It's around 170 people in total.
Wow.
But around 40 or 50 of those are in the Philippines. So we actually don't employ them as through the UK company. We employ an agency who then like manage their performance and make sure they turn up to work and all those kind of things. They recruit for us because they're on the ground there and they know. So the things that the Philippine employees help us with is things like uploading content. So once we create content, it's got to be uploaded to the website. So we have an uploading team which uploads the content and just formats it and inserts the images, make sure it looks nice. On the link building team, we do a lot of manual outreach. So we have our team in the UK manage the strategy and all of that and set up the initial outreach. And the Filipino team are just responding to people that are coming back to us and managing the mailboxes essentially for our clients in terms of the outreach. So that's kind of how that works. But we have over 100 people just UK based.
Nice. So like you said, you're white labeling. So for a person not just wanting to create a website portfolio, they could actually go to you and start up like a content agency or a sort of similar agency, basically like yourself, offering services within niche website building and using your services as more or less a foundation.
Yeah, I mean, generally the agencies are working with local businesses, right? So they'll work with a lawyer firm, but we can write content on that basis for them. So ultimately, we're working with businesses there. We're working the agencies on behalf of them, working for their businesses. We're also happy to go kind of direct to clients in some cases. So we're like exploring that opportunity instead of via agencies. And I guess, so there's that part, that is more focusing on businesses. And the last part is that we really feel like that website investing is a huge opportunity, but a lot of people just don't know it. So we're trying to get into the space where people are like, maybe they're investing in property and crypto and stocks, but they just don't know website investing exists as a thing.
No.
Like,
exactly.
We're trying to get into those spaces basically and find those people and educate those people to bring them into the space, because those are great customers for us.
Yeah, so that leads me into my first real question about the topic we're supposed to talk about. So that is, so why should you invest in niche websites? Like, I guess you have some kind of pitch prepared for those kinds of potential customers, like you said, people coming from the stocks investments and crypto and real estate. How do you explain? I think I have an idea at least why you should invest in and build niche websites, but I'm not sure about the people that are watching or will hopefully someday watch this recording. What would you say to those people? Why should I invest in or start creating niche websites?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons, really. I think, I mean, the first point is that it's a very, very low bar to entry. So you don't need much investment up front. If you want to get started today, you can kind of get a website set up. Even if you don't know how to do that, like you can just install WordPress, install a theme. Once you get your hosting paid for, and then ultimately it comes down to like writing content. So yeah, you want to do a bit of keyword research. You can kind of learn how to do that on YouTube, but ultimately it's about taking action and getting started. So start a site, write a blog, and so all you're really paying for at that point is the monthly hosting, which could be a few dollars a month. And then you're using your time rather than money to kind of write content. So the bar to entry is actually really, really low. So it's accessible to a lot of people. But ultimately, kind of longer term, the return on investment is really good for people. So to give you an idea, you can sell a website for 40x, 40 times what it makes monthly. Typically, so it depends on the asset itself. Some you can sell for significantly more than that. Some it might sell for a little less than that. But ultimately, if a site is making $1,000 a month, you can sell it for $40,000. One of our kind of best case studies to date is like one customer we worked with over the course of a year, and by the end of that year, they were making just shy of $40,000 a month. Which meant that asset was worth $1.6 million, like within a year. So there was a whole process behind that, and he did a lot of reinvesting of the money that he was making back into the project to get it there. But that's the beauty of this business model. And another reason maybe why you should invest in it is that once you get to a certain level, you don't have to put any new money in. The site starts making money, and you just put that reinvest that money to make that asset bigger and bigger and bigger and more valuable. So, and even over time, maybe it's making a little bit. So it's at least then subsidizing any money that you do put in. Like it's and as time goes on, that subsidize turns into actually I'm making more money than the money I'm putting, or you can just reinvest it all into the website, depending on how hard you want to go at it. But another reason is it's a hugely growing space. So multiples have gone up over the years. I've got some data like that from Empire Flippers. Unfortunately, it's quite old, but between 2017 and 2020, like a kind of content site would went up from 23x multiplier. So you could sell it for about 23 times what it was making monthly, to around 34. So now in 2022, it's more like 40 plus that you can kind of sell a website for. But so between 2017 and 2020, then where it went up from 23 to 34, that was so if you just bought a website and held it for those 3 years, you'd make a 53% return on investment just by holding it and not doing anything in theory, right? So we don't recommend that.
So,
you want to work
I guess
on it,
if you buy, I mean if you're purely an investor, the return on investment, I guess, is one of the most interesting aspects. And you want to compare that to stocks, or like you can compare it to dividend stocks, maybe, for example, which usually, at least here in Sweden, we have like, I guess, maximum 7% yearly sort of dividends coming out from the investment. So if you invest $1,000, you will get let's say $100. It's easier. You get $7 per year back from holding that asset, and compared to like you would invest in a stock that is in a website that is having a multiple of 20x, then you'll be assuming it will hold its profits or its income. It will take you 20 months to have your return on investment, and I don't think any stocks could beat that. Or any other kind of investment.
Or property, or like
property for that sake.
When do you get what offers you like double your money basically in 2 or 3 years? Like nothing. And that's the great thing about it. I mean, we actually looked because we were trying to like you said, like it's hard for us to articulate to customers like the opportunity, specifically, but just that between 2017 and 2020, we looked at the stock market and we looked at buy-to-let properties. and like what your return potentially would be. So the stock market was 23% and buy-to-let property investment was 28% in that same time frame. So still great return on investment, but that's we're saying 53% if you've done nothing. But of course, we don't say do nothing. We say grow it, invest in it, and it'll be even more.
But isn't it also true that even by doing nothing and just holding and getting your monthly money from the site, even by just aging it, it sort of increases a bit in value as well? Because in SEO, SEO is still like a mystery to most people, to be honest. But one sort of consensus for me, I think, is that the older the site is, the more value it has. So just by having it for a longer time, it sort of increases in speculative value as well.
Yeah, obviously, the longer you can show stability on a site, exactly. the better, the more it's going to be worth as well ultimately when you sell it. So that's definitely like another factor there. But we in our own portfolios and for our clients, we regularly see multiple 100% of kind of returns, within a period of time. Within a pretty short period of time. So it's because you're actively continuing to kind of work on the site and grow it, and once you've got that full. And that's, I guess, the other thing about it as well is that literally what you just alluded to is that it's an asset that generates cash flow as well. So you've got an asset that you're kind of growing and building, but also you're getting a monthly income like from it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is very much an analogy to physical property in a way. You buy a site, buy a house, it needs doing up, it needs fixing, it needs improving to make that asset more valuable.
Lots of people are, at least some people are, like you said, they're buying, besides their own house, maybe that they're living in, they invest in real estate in order to get an extra income, or then maybe after 10-20 years they have enough real estate to make a living and then just relax, they were thinking. But then you have to either do all the maintenance yourself, like at least a full-time job, or you need to hire people to take care of all your real estate. So then you're sort of stuck with a business that you need to manage anyway. While in my perspective, or at least what I'm hoping for myself, is to have a portfolio that is more or less running itself, making me having to work less and have more freedom. So with websites, it feels like you can build something up that is giving you a full-time job, a full-time income, and with little effort. Passive is like a myth, of course. So you still need to manage and look after your investments and your portfolio. But compared to many other assets, I think websites are low maintenance compared to lots.
I think the other thing is like people always talk about how hard SEO is, right? SEO is hard, but like the reality is the basics is really, really easy. Like great content. If you need to get more authority, build some links, like maybe you need a bit of keyword research, but ultimately just doing the fundamentals and the basics isn't that hard. So like the problem comes is it's not that difficult, but what's difficult is for a lot of people is the patience, and have the patience, because it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to be playing the long game. You've got to be looking like 1, 2, 3 years down the road, and you've got to be persistent and continuously focused on making sure you continue to work on stuff, because it's not, especially if you're starting from scratch with no investment, it's not gonna come tomorrow. But you've got to know and believe in the process.
I know.
And lots of people give up, right? Lots of people give up.
And that's why it's great with these forums like YouTube, if you find some good, interesting YouTubers that are sort of showing how they did it from scratch, or on Twitter there's lots of success stories and people sharing what they're doing and how they did stuff. I didn't have that when I started getting an interest, like back in 2005, maybe 2005. And it's like just reading maybe some website. At the most, if you were lucky, you would find some people into this. But today it's so much information and knowledge and inspiration to be found.
Oh yeah,
which is really good.
You were in it before me. I was into building websites and SEO at that time, but I wasn't into content sites at that time. But
luckily, I wasn't actually, maybe not content sites. It's more like I read some article before I moved on from Stockholm to where we live now about making money while you sleep and all that mysterious things. And then I was thinking, this is just crap. You can't make money from ads. And then it's got me thinking, and then at least I will try it. So I started learning PHP and MySQL and those tools. And since I'm a developer as well, I found pleasure in coding and learning. And so I'm gonna learn this. I'm gonna try it out, and I'm gonna build some sites from scratch and try to understand how you get traffic and what you should build. And so I did some link directory instead of using what's called link PHP. I think it was out by then.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, so back then it was like no inspiration, no people to talk about and learn from compared to today. But on the other side, I think today it's easy to, like you say, get the idea, like it's an overnight success as well. So you need to listen to the right people to understand that you need all this patience to get any kind of traction.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, is just sticking with it. Yeah, that's where most sites fail, is because people give up too soon, or they just lose interest, or whatever. So yeah, it's playing the long game, but once you get there, it's worth it because once you're there, you're on that like great place where you've got money coming in, you can just use to reinvest to build a new website, grow your portfolio, and it's a beautiful place to be when you get there. But getting over that hump.
You need to love the process.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you need to like. Besides having the patience, I think you need to enjoy the actual process of getting somewhere and doing this, putting in that hour every other day to build your own success. And sort of measure what is measurable. I mean, you can't measure money and income. You should measure your efforts instead of keeping only focus on the sort of the money that you're making, because you won't probably make a lot of money in the beginning if you're starting from scratch, like you say, and don't invest in an existing, like a big site or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. So let's see. I have lots of questions, and we're like almost out of time. So do you think you should have any pre-knowledge before thinking about even invest in sites? Or is it easy for anybody with no background in understanding or whatever? For example, if they come to a provider like yourself, they only have experience in stocks and crypto and whatever other kind of investments that are out there.
Yeah.
Should I sort of do some homework beforehand, or should I just get started and take their money and invest?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're talking to us, then we will help you get started. We will help make sure you avoid some of the common pitfalls for when people are getting started. Like, just one thing you want to avoid is just avoiding like a really competitive niche, especially for your first site. There's good things that come with competitive niches. Normally, they're the most valuable niches as well. But that's something you probably, if we're talking about is the process and it takes time. Well, if you're going to tackle a more challenging niche, it's going to take you more time. So it's probably not good for your first one. So you just want to avoid things like that. So if you're coming to us, then we can definitely make sure you avoid some of the pitfalls and help you get started. If you're starting out on your own, I would say just do a little bit of research, but don't get stuck in that. Oh, I need to learn everything before I get started, so I don't make any mistakes. Right? Just get started. Yeah. You're gonna make mistakes along the way, and that's just part of the process. But that's another thing is like people give up too soon, but there's a lot of people that just don't start or don't start with enough conviction.
Yeah, I have some
because they're still friends. Learning.
Yeah, I have lots of friends, or a few at least, talking about for years now, like 10, 20 years. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. And then I sort of stuck in analysis paralysis and don't do anything instead.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good.
Learn on the job. Just get started and learn on the job. That's the best way with this, for sure.
So would you recommend, like if you're just talking investor people, should I buy an existing up and running site, or should they start building with your help, for example, a site from scratch? Do you usually recommend them if they build? Do you always build on aged domains, or do you sort of take fresh domains?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So there is three kind of routes that you could take. One is that you buy a site, an existing site that's already making money, it's already proven itself. Again, there's some things you just got to be aware of when you're buying a site. You got to carry out some due diligence to make sure that the asset you're buying is solid and is built on good foundations. So there's some risks that come with buying that you need to kind of be aware of if you're going down that route. But that's the great thing of that is that you get, it might cost you a bit of money, but you get something that's already earning some money like straight away.
Yeah.
Then there's two ways you can start a site, like you say. One is with just a fresh domain. And that's just a domain that you might register on GoDaddy or Namecheap or something. And you just then put a blog on it and get started. The thing with that is that you're definitely not going to see any traction for 6 to 12 months because we have a term in SEO called the sandbox period, of which, rightly so, Google just will not trust a new site within a certain period of time, because this is just to avoid people setting up scam sites real quick, ripping off a load of people easily, and then disappearing. Like it's just hard to get the trust of Google in the early days, and the only way you get the trust is time. So you have to sit there for 6 to 12 months, and you're just putting all this work in, and you're probably seeing nothing. Again, no traffic, hardly any traffic, and it just feels like you're putting everything into a hole, and it's going to be really, you just got to believe in the process. It's going to be hard the first time round. But eventually you'll come out of the sandbox period, and often, if you've been putting a lot of work in, it will be a very clear hockey stick, and when you've kind of come out. Now, I still think that the handbrake is still on for the first couple of years. I've definitely seen situations where even after a couple of years, you almost see a second like sandbox kind of spike. So I think it's really for a couple of years, definitely for 6 to 12 months to start with, and then I reckon the handbrake's still on for a couple of years with a brand new domain. That's kind of my opinion from what I've seen over time. And then the other option is to work with an aged domain. And an aged domain is a domain that used to exist as a website in the past, maybe as a business. And for whatever reason, that business no longer exists, or that person no longer wanted that domain, and they just let it go. And these domains have SEO value generally, or not all of them do, but there's different ways that you can describe SEO value. The most important one is a domain may have a lot of backlinks to it. So if you've got a link from another website to your own, Google sees that as a vote of confidence. This must be a good site because people are actually bothering to link to it. And that's very much a big thing that has always gone into the Google algorithm. That's what set Google apart from other search engines in the very early days. They were the first to take external factors into account of who was linking to the site, and that was where it went in, and that was like their page rank kind of calculation. When you have a domain with lots of good links, so maybe you've got some links from like the New York Times or from the BBC or other places, that's a valuable domain, right?
Yeah.
So when you pick up that domain, the other good thing about it is that it's already aged, right? So time is a factor for domains as well. If like we said, if you pick up a brand new domain and it's brand new and Google's never seen it before, it's going to take a while to gain that trust. Well, that trust has already kind of been gained by existing in the past. So you don't have that. It can still not be. Sometimes we've seen aged domains take off within days. Sometimes it still takes months. So but it's generally quick. It's definitely quicker than a new domain. But also, once you get there, you've already got all that authority to work with. You've already got all those backlinks. Google trusts that domain much more than it does a fresh domain. With a fresh domain, you've got no backlinks yet. There's no trust. It's harder to compete for more competitive keywords. Whereas with an aged domain, you've got that built-in inherent value. So it might cost you a few $1,000s, but for us, we just see that as really cheap way of link building. Because if you think about the time or the money it costs you to get those links, it costs way more than $2,000 in time and money to get that.
Yeah, and I can also imagine that for every year there's more and more competition in the SERP, like the search result in Google, for example, and there can only be one number one and 10 on the first page as it is now. So it feels like the bar is increasing every year on how much authority your website needs to have. So especially depending on the niche, of course, what you need to, how much trust and authority you need to build on your website in order to have a single chance of succeeding in getting. I mean, of course, you can target these long tail, zero volume keywords to bring in some traffic, and but still, So how do you feel about that? Like, is it correct? Like for every year, basically, the competition increases. So in some niches, it's not even realistic to consider using a fresh domain.
Yeah. So I mean, So I mean, like you say, SEO it's a zero-sum game, right? The SERPs.
Yeah.
Like, you hear about, like, people say about the updates. Oh, everyone got hit in this last update. Well, someone's now in the
Not
first place. Like somebody won, right? Like, it's a zero-sum game. So for as many losers, there is as many winners. It has definitely to be equal on both sides.
Yeah.
So it's just working out, like, okay, well, why did they win and why did those ones lose? And that's the hard part, because
that's so many also the sort of the joy and the frustration with websites and the niche websites. That it's like I think I mentioned that when we talked before summer. Like it's like almost like playing poker. I mean, it's like a gambling thing, but you can control it in a much better way. You have your odds and you have your hand, and it's like what do you do with your hand today? What are your actions to be able to win today or in the coming days?
Yeah, it's always changing, right? As well.
That's
part of the fun.
And it's also the frustration part and the interesting part. It's like you wake up and you're a newbie, so that you can't be a guru, you can't be a expert, because the game plan is changing every morning when you wake up.
So in terms of like the authority, though, I think like yes and no. Like definitely the higher authority you have, the easier it's going to be for you to rank for different keywords and in different spaces. But what Google doesn't just take like the perceived authority of a website as the factor. We talk about relevancy as well as another factor. So how relevant is your site? Is it really focused on that specific niche? Because and we've seen this over time, Google's changing. So Google was much more historically, they were much more pushing towards authority as like a ranking factor, like and which is trying to push out some of these rubbish sites. But what they found then was like people like the New York Times was suddenly writing best golf balls for beginners, look in your hat, best golf balls for beginners, right? And suddenly they got like loads of review sites on like the New York Times, and they were just dominating all that stuff. They're not really experts. So okay, now we want, but we really want golf expert results to turn up in these people who are really passionate about golf and really believe in, and like authentic, and like not the New York Times or whatever. So then we saw a switch back where niche sites and people who are hyper focused and relevant to were actually being able to rank again than in the SERP. So yes, authority like really does matter, and if you're competing against other hyper focused, passionate individuals all in the golf niche, then authority is going to help you beat them.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's always opportunities, but for sure, like I'm not knocking it. Like absolutely, authority is key. It's one of the biggest things, and
so I guess it's a combination of authority, relevance, and all kinds of and the actual competition within the niche as well that affects. So I had maybe I should flip that question around. I had like a question here about depending on your budget, how would you go about to start investing and get started? I think we touched upon that, but if we flip it around, say for myself, a long-term goal, of course, or not goal, but a hope or a milestone would be to make, say, $10,000 profit. I'm saying profit, not income now, per month would be like, then I could like basically turn down my normal full-time job, almost 50 or if not 100%, and just live on creating my websites or do whatever. How would you go about? I guess it depends on your budget as well. if you within like say 4 to 5 years would like to have also a stable, hopefully somewhat stable monthly profit of $1,000, because for that I think that's like $10,000 for many people. That will be like a really good sum of money to live on.
Yeah, I mean, so getting to 1,000 can happen relatively, relatively quickly. But again, it depends on your conviction, and you've got to write a lot of content ultimately to get there. You're not just talking about a blog with 10 posts here. You've got to have a
1,000
plan
blogs
here
with 10 posts.
Yeah, that's not going to make you $1,000 a month, or unlikely to make you $1,000 or $10,000 a month, right? But so you've got to have a plan over these years. Okay, I'm going to have several hundreds. I'm going to have hundreds of posts on here. Somewhere, somehow, I've got to get to hundreds of posts on a blog, and make it happen. So we'll have a. If people want to sign up to our mailing list or whatever, they can do that on our site. But very shortly, we're going to have this big data project that I mentioned, which gives you an idea of how many posts are on the site, what the authority of the site is, what the traffic is, and what the indicated income is just from ads, like regardless of other income streams. And that project, that analysis, I don't think we've seen really anywhere else. We're going to be publicly putting that out on our blog, on our YouTube channel, and spreading it to our mailing list as well. So that will help give people we wanted people to have a roadmap for the future. Say, okay, exactly. This is roughly really what I can earn. Or maybe I don't have all the money to invest today, or maybe I don't have any money. So I'll start, but over time, I can expect to be roughly at this point, and I'm going to reinvest some of that money. But over 3-4 years, I'm going to have those hundreds of posts, which will get me to the earnings that I want to get to over time. So we'll have a much better answer for that soon, because, like I say, some people, it can be you can get really lucky. You can have a really good age domain. You can hit a really good niche. Some of it's luck, right, as well. Like some sites just take off, and you don't know why. Others, you think this one's going to be awesome, and it doesn't do so well, and you just don't know. So some people can be earning thousands of dollars a month after a year. Some people, there may be much less, and it takes them longer. But persistence and keep working on it, you kind of get there in the end. Sometimes it just takes longer than others. That's all.
Yeah. And I think that would be really helpful for a lot of people to have those data points, like you say, to, of course, they're not like numbers you can depend on, but they can be very inspirational to understand, to build your own roadmap and your own sort of goals or milestones along the way to where you want to be. Because I think it's good to have a plan, at least, so you're not just maybe I will write a blog post, see what happens. So if you can sort of put up a plan for yourself and say, and sort of celebrate that and focus on things that you can affect. Like, I've written 10 posts and I should be happy, instead of looking at your Google AdSense income and it's 0. But you should you've done 10 posts. That's great, because now you're like 10% along the way to having those 100 posts, which that for these kinds of websites, they have this potential of making this kind of revenue within this kind of time frame. So that kind of data will probably help a lot of people to stay motivated and keep building and keep them on track.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it really helps us because we're very upfront about telling people about the effort that it's going to take, the time that it's going to take. And people are like, yeah, I understand. And but when it comes to it, I'm 6-12 months in, and it's like, is this going okay? Is this right? Yeah, remember we told you at the start, but I think actually having kind of this stuff, it will be much, rather than just saying it and relying on people remembering it and that kind of stuff. We've got these data points which people can actually then track themselves versus this and go, okay, I'm on track. This is normal. I'm not having bad experiences. It's just normal. I just got to keep going, and I can see where I'll end up if I do. So.
Yeah, sounds good. I think that social part, like you say, also to actually talk to other people or like your fellow builders and sort of rely on each other to understand that this is normal, and maybe you should try this, or how did you do that, and to support each other to go forward. Because if you're just by yourself and you don't have any people to chat or talk with, it's easy to lose hope, I think, since it's such a long process in time.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of big Facebook groups for which people share their experiences. And that's kind of our community, I guess, and that's kind of how how it all kind of started for us. We have thought about having some sort of private mastermind community as well. But that's something that we just keep throwing around and haven't really got to it yet, because if we do it, we want to do it properly, and we know it's going to take an overhead of time, and we don't want it. We don't want to put something out and it's a bit rubbish. If we put it out, we want to do it properly. But in the meantime, we've got we've got a Facebook group with niche website flippers, which is for people who are buying and selling websites, probably 15,000 members. We've got niche website builders for people growing and building sites. It's got around 8,000 or 9,000 members. We recently purchased another one, which has got around 21,000 members, but it's a bit dead at the moment. And life of me, I've just forgotten what the group is called.
Like another Facebook group, or
like one that was like dead.
Okay, yeah.
That the guy didn't want anymore. So it's Lion Zeal. I don't know if you know the SEO kind of guy called Lion Zeal.
No, I don't ring a bell.
Yeah, so he
we can put it on in the description when we sort of add some content or text to the description to this stream.
Yeah,
for people interested. So I'm not sure how much time you have, but maybe we should try to keep it to a bit short now. So I also had. Sorry.
Whatever you need is fine. I'm happy to hang around as long as you need.
I had one another question, maybe a sort of a closing question. How do you view the future of niche websites? I mean, there's a lot of talk about. We talked about increased competition, of course, which is normal now that more and more people are looking into this as an alternative investment. And then besides that, this was new to me because I missed it totally. It's the third-party cookies thing that was blowing up. But was it announced last year? I don't remember.
Oh, it's been years. It's been
maybe years.
It's been delayed multiple times. It's just been delayed again, actually.
At least I saw the news like a few weeks ago that Google is postponing their removal of third-party cookies in Chrome. At least 1 year, or maybe 1.5.
I think this is the third time now. It's been It's been moved back.
Okay.
But
I mean, and then there are all other things like we talked a bit about, like big media sites that have a lot of trust or authority, being able to write very broad, just sort of running over niches. But maybe I'm not sure if that's a thing. Is that maybe going backwards now? Like they're not being able to compete with that kind of best whatever thing.
Yeah.
And
so
the second, the fourth thing, the AI part. So basically, it's like 4 questions in the same one.
Yeah. So like the future, I guess. I think there's always going to be opportunities for niches. It's just the game changes. So right now, like the thing with bigger companies, the opportunity that we've always had in the niche site space, and we continue to have, is that for bigger organizations, like bigger companies like the New York Times or whatever, or media companies, is that they've got a lot of overheads for which going for the long tail keywords is not necessarily profitable for them. So they go for the bigger ones. So the long tail ones, they just leave behind for the rest of us to like kind of pick up. And we know that if we write for enough of the long tail, that can be bigger than the head of like SEO, right? So there's plenty in there. Of course, there's more and more competition. Definitely in the review space, like there's been more competition. So like the best X for Y type stuff.
Yeah.
So we're definitely pushing people to go down more informational kind of route at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
not least as well because Google recently had the product review update, which they announced as a product review update, which is really interesting because they don't normally tell you what is in an update, but they told you what was in an update, and but they also gave some guidance on what a good review should look like, so that's really helpful. But the game has changed there now, and it's right, because anybody who works in this space, nobody search. If you're searching for a television, you never go and search best, 28-inch television, right? Because that the results you're going to get
exactly.
are somebody writing a niche show who's never tried any of the products. And Google doesn't want to serve that kind of stuff, quite rightly, right? And we never look at it like it's not worth, because it's often the review is just a rewrite of the product description. It's just adding no value.
Or somebody else review that you just found good and useful. You take it and more or less just, or maybe you take 2 or 3 existing reviews and sort of make your own version of whatever those people are writing. Which is sad. I mean, some people do that, and that's making people not trust reviews when they're searching for best X for Y.
So quite rightly, Google's tried to address that, right? So now
it's a good thing, of course.
It is, right.
For the search results.
I mean, that is their business model, right? If they're not serving the best or good results, then they're not going to stick around. Exactly. Someone else is going to do that better. So, I mean, but that, for me, I always see this as a good thing. It's because those people that aren't willing to put in the effort are going to be the ones that fall by. The ones that are willing to put in the effort are the ones that are going to win. So if you're in this and you're going to be putting in the effort, then you're probably going to have less competition ultimately, because there's going to be lots more people. There's loads of people already giving up. There's going to be more people giving up because it's harder to do. But there'll be fewer of us doing that hard work to win the SERPs. So exactly. I see that as a good thing. Honestly,
yes, it's like you say. It's probably going to be added effort needed, basically. More or less for each year, that you need to put in more effort to be seen. This for some time now, and it could also be the other effect could be like you're saying, that lots of people are dropping out of the space because the demands are increasing.
And there's lots of people entering as well, right? All the time. There's lots of people entering. There's lots of people leaving.
It is, of course. And in a way, for us that have been doing it for some time, it's a good thing that is not too easy as well, because then if it was too easy, then too many people will be competing. So it's like the persistent people are the ones getting the rewards, and the ones creating the good content that is sort of read and linked to and appreciated.
And I think longer term, Google, I heard of the term EAT, which is expertise, authority, and trust. Like how does Google work out what sites they can trust? And I think over time, there's going to be a number of different factors that kind of go into this. So just think about it from Google's perspective. If a website has, say, for example, a YouTube channel associated with it, if it has some Facebook groups associated, or some active social channels, or all of these things are going to give that site more credibility because it has these kind of other kind of assets around it. There's a whole number of things that are going to be needed to up your game to give your site more credibility. And that might be from backlinks, the types of backlinks that you've got, through to having kind of other assets that are essentially sit as like satellites to your website. So we're really excited. Over the next 6 months or so, we've got loads of new ideas for services that are going to come out that are really going to help people up their game in terms of being more of an authority in the eyes of Google. And we see this as kind of the way that it's going to go. If you want to prove you've got to prove yourself to Google as being credible and authoritative and relevant. And there's a number of ways that you can do that. We're not going to say any one way is the right way, but if you're just trying to think of it I always try and think of it from Google's perspective. Why would sometimes somebody will come up with some random reason why Google's affected a site. It's like, but that's not in the interest of Google. Why would Google want to do that? Have a think about why Google. What does Google want? So if Google could see you as a site with with an active community, for example, with some awesome high authority backlinks, you're gonna be much more stable as a site because you're gonna have much more credibility.
Yeah. Often the answer, I guess, would be actually in the search result after a big update. If you look at where you have dropped out and you see what Google is displaying in the SERP at the moment, that's fairly black and white what I would like you to have, and probably what you're missing in those 10 results, unless there's sort of a bug or something like that in the results, and it's sort of in plain sight, more or less, what I would like to see in the on your website, what you're lacking if you compare it to what's in the top 10.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah, that's the way I use that exact term. Like, what Google wants from you is hide in plain sight. It's literally there. You can look at the SERPs for any search term, see what they want. But that changes, right? Well, what you see in the SERPs today, in 6 months' time, that might be different, right?
It's always evolving, of course, and that's what makes it so interesting. So I think we're gonna wrap it up. I need to actually have a day job as well. Still.
For
sure. So do you have any final tips, like for anybody wanting to get into, if you just take two perspectives, either you're like you have no money to invest, or actually we talked about that already. If you have money to invest, what would be your top tip to get started? Will it just be make a call to you and you will give them some information, or can you share anything for those people that are contemplating getting started investing in websites?
It depends on like how much you have to spend and how quickly you want to kind of get your sites and portfolio up and running. So, but there's lots of different options in that respect. So I think like feel free to get in contact with us. We're happy to kind of give you some guidance and some support on like what might be the best course of action for you. I think for anybody else starting out, like you say, follow some good, like credible people. If you check out our YouTube channel, which I think you've already put in the description, we literally share everything. Like we share how we do everything for our customers. We don't hide like a single thing. And we don't mind doing that because some people will go off and do it themselves, and that's fine, and they'll imitate what we do. But for a lot of people, they just don't have the time or the inclination to do that. So we know that by sharing this, they're going to see what we're doing, believe in what we're doing, trust us, and then use our services. But if you are determined to get started on your own, or if you just want to get clued up and learn a little bit more, like check out our YouTube channel. We're trying to just cover off everything that we can think of in the website investing place. We get lots of questions. We try to turn that into a video. Check that out.
Yeah, I can recommend it. I just found you guys on YouTube a few months ago, and it feels authentic and really informational, like you sort of hands-on explaining instead of, standing in front of a Ferrari and selling the dream,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we had, let's see, we had one actually question from some guy here, Marcus Eriksson. Sounds Scandinavian almost. I think I've chatted with you, Marcus, before. So what are the criteria to select a website that could make profit? I'm not sure if I think he means like if you go to the the sites where you can buy existing websites, like Flippa.com. What do you have more? Empire Builders. Empire Flippers. Yeah.
FE International. Yeah.
So some kind of metrics to look that are good, and maybe some metrics that are bad. So sort of, what should you avoid and what should you?
So
what would you like to see?
So if you take a look at our YouTube channel, we do have a whole video on due diligence for websites. So you can kind of go and check that out.
I'll link to that in the description afterwards.
I wouldn't want to say like these metrics are good, these metrics are bad. If that's fine, then go ahead and buy it. Check out our video because we cover a lot more in a lot more detail. I think you just want to. There is things that you want to check like that add up, like does the history over time does the traffic over time make sense? How many articles does the website have? If the website's getting 20,000 visitors a month, okay, that can sound quite good. Then you look and it's got 5,000 articles. Okay, it's probably quite bad. Like the average traffic per article isn't particularly good.
Could also be the opposite if you have one article making 90% of the traffic, getting 90% of the traffic.
Yeah. So there's a risk there, right? If that one article loses rankings, then you're going to lose most of your traffic. So yeah, you want to make sure that it's kind of like a nice even spread. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like if it's one's got 20, it's not uncommon to have like 25% maybe of the traffic, and that's okay. No. As long as it's spread out along among the rest, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think also one word of caution. I think we've spoken to people, unfortunately, that have been ripped off buying sites like privately and things as well, where people have sent them screenshots of supposed earnings, or you've got to get on a video call with them and know what you're looking for, get them to like go through the analytics, also show them the earnings in real time rather than that things match up.
But on a place like Flippa and Empire Flippers, right? You can trust the metrics, right, that they're providing.
Yeah,
they are authorized or authentic to be real-time data from analytics and AdSense, for example.
Yeah, they do a certain amount of due diligence ahead of listing them. They should be okay. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do some of yourself as well, but it should be. It's a bit safer going through a broker, but then you're paying a fee for that as well.
Yeah,
or actually the seller is.
yeah, exactly. Nice and great. I'm a bit overwhelmed. I have so many questions and interesting stuff to talk about, but I think maybe we should take that in a follow-up chat then. I guess the standard. This is my first interview at all on YouTube. I'm new to YouTube anyway, so
we did a great job.
A great experience, and maybe we can do a follow-up with new questions and other topics. But I want to thank Mark for coming for this time, and be sure to check out their website. I will put some additional links to specific related videos on your YouTube channel afterwards. And
excellent.
Great to talk with you, Mark, and thanks to everybody listening. And of course, it will be available on the channel afterwards.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Johan. Thanks for the time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Keep in touch. Bye, Mark.
Bye-bye.